Welcome to a gentle journey through time. Tonight, as you lie back and let your mind drift with each slow breath, we'll travel to a world long gone, a world where candlelight flickered against stone walls, where laughter mingled with the clinking of wooden beer mugs, a place where weary travelers stopped to rest. That's right, tonight we'll explore the life inside a medieval tavern. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let the imagined sound of a creaking wooden door guide you inside. Part 1. On the way to the tavern. Imagine walking along a worn dirt path, somewhere in the English countryside during the 13th century. Your leather boots are damp with morning dew, each step sinking softly into the muddy ground. The sky above is dull and heavy with a thick blanket of gray clouds. Around you, wide meadows stretch out, with lazy cattle chewing grass. And far in the distance, the thatched roof of a humble building. That is your destination today. You are heading to a village alehouse, a place where locals gather after a long day of labor. There are no glowing signs or posters, but you'll recognize it by the smell, a mix of firewood smoke, dark ale, and onion broth. It's a welcoming scent if you're used to it, and a powerful one if it's your first time. Ahead of you is a simple wooden gate. Hanging from it is a bundle of dried ivy, the traditional sign that ale is being served. There is no word, pub, painted, since most villagers can't read, but they know this place is where stories are told, and thirst is quenched. Your hand touches the wooden latch. A slow creak echoes out, and before you lies the most lively place in the entire village. Part 2. The atmosphere inside the tavern. As you step through the heavy wooden door, your eyes take a moment to adjust to the dim light. There are no electric lamps, just the soft flicker of a few candles and the orange glow of a stone fireplace. The air inside is noticeably warmer than outside, not because the fire is large, but because of the packed bodies and the rising scent of fermented ale from the barrels. Laughter drifts lightly through the room. Someone is telling a story about the harvest. Another is arguing about the price of bread, and a few sit quietly, nursing their drinks in the corners. The long wooden tables are rough-hewn and well-worn, their surfaces scratched, stained, and marked with carved names of past patrons. The floor is packed earth. If it had rained, it would be damp and muddy. But tonight, the smells are of firewood smoke, yeasty ale, wet fur, and a faint mustiness from the old stone walls. No one is dressed finely. People wear brown, gray, or deep green woolen tunics, patched, torn, sleeves frayed, but no one cares. The tavern isn't a place to impress, it's a place to forget the cold, forget the worries, and forget the time. You find a spot near the fireplace and sit down. The wooden stool creaks under your weight. You haven't ordered yet, but a middle-aged woman quietly brings you a warm mug of ale, placing it in front of you with a wordless nod. Part 3. The ale. The mug in front of you is made of wood, bound with a ring of dull metal. It feels solid, slightly damp, and warm from the ale inside. The liquid is dark, nearly brown, and a thin layer of foam clings to the top like soft soap bubbles. You raise the mug to your lips. The smell is earthy, yeast, malt, and something slightly sour. It is not like the beer of modern days. It is thicker, more rustic. The first sip is mildly bitter, with a faint sweetness that lingers on the tongue. You taste barley, smoke, and a hint of wild herbs, whatever the brewer had on hand that week. This ale was brewed just a few fields away, likely by the tavern owner herself, or perhaps her son, using large wooden barrels and boiled water drawn from the village well. It is unfiltered, cloudy, and occasionally there may be bits of grain still floating near the bottom. But it is honest, it is hearty, and after a long day walking in the cold, it is just what you need. The warmth from the drink begins to spread through your chest. Your shoulders relax. The room feels even softer now. Voices become murmurs. Firelight flickers like candle shadows on stone. You take another sip. You are not in a hurry. Tonight, the ale is your company. Part 4. The people around you. As the warmth from the ale settles in, your eyes begin to wander across the room. The tavern is not loud, but it is alive. Each corner tells its own quiet story. Near the door, two old men sit shoulder to shoulder, hunched over their mugs. One speaks slowly, while the other nods with a toothless smile. They are not in a rush. Perhaps they've told this story a dozen times before, and perhaps they will tell it again tomorrow. In the far back, a group of younger men, Farmhands by the look of their muddy boots. Or laughing over something said in hushed tones. One slaps the table. Another nearly spills his drink. Their laughter rises, then quickly fades into chuckles, like ripples across still water. By the hearth, an older woman knits quietly. She is not drinking, not speaking. Her eyes are focused on the wool in her lap. But she seems comforted by the noise around her. She's been coming here for years. And no one questions her presence. She is part of the tavern's furniture. Just like the benches and the flickering fire. Children are not allowed here at this hour. But there is a young man, perhaps no older than 15, sitting alone with a single mug. It may be watered down ale. Or perhaps just warm broth. His clothes are too big for his frame. He stares into the fire, as if trying to understand the world in silence. You take another sip, and realize, no one here is really alone. In a place like this, simply being present is enough. You don't need to speak to be part of the room. The walls, the air, the warmth, all of it wraps around you like a familiar blanket. Part 5: The Smells and Sounds. The tavern is not silent, but it is not loud either. It has a rhythm, a quiet hum of voices layered with the occasional clink of mugs, the creak of a bench, or the soft pop of burning wood from the hearth. These are not distractions. They are part of the lullaby of the room, steady and familiar, like a well-worn melody played for comfort. The smells drift slowly, mixing together like the layers of a warm stew. There is the scent of smoke, wood smoke from the fire, tinged faintly with peat. There is the deep, yeasty smell of ale, slightly sour but not unpleasant. Beside that, something roasted, meat, perhaps mutton, or maybe turnips cooked slowly in dripping fat. You can also catch the scent of wool, wet cloaks hung near the fire to dry, steaming slightly as the cold is pushed away. And behind it all, a trace of old wood, damp stone, and candle wax melting slowly on metal holders. None of it is perfumed or fresh, but it is real. It is the smell of life lived close to the earth, of a place that is used and known. Not polished for display. Every scent has a story. Just like every sound, a chair scrapes gently across the packed dirt floor. Somewhere, a man coughs once, then sips from his mug. A log collapses in the fire with a low thump, sending a new burst of orange glow across the low beams above you. You breathe in slowly. These are the details that no one remembers later. But they are the ones that make the place feel real. And they are the ones that help you feel calm, and still, and safe. Part 6: The Hearth. You turn slightly in your seat to face the hearth. The fire is not large, but steady. Its light dances gently across the stone walls, casting slow-moving shadows that seem to breathe with the room itself. The hearth is the heart of the tavern. People gather near it not only for warmth, but for comfort. Its presence is constant, a silent witness to conversations, to silences, to the quiet rituals of daily life. A blackened iron pot hangs over the flames, suspended by a hook on a metal arm. Something simmers inside. It's impossible to tell what exactly, but it smells of root vegetables, a bit of salt, and long hours of patience. Now and then, the pot bubbles gently, releasing a burst of steam that catches the light like a morning mist. Beside the hearth, a small pile of firewood sits neatly stacked. The logs are dry, their bark peeling slightly, ready to be fed into the flames. Occasionally, someone rises from their bench and adds a log. No words are exchanged. It is simply understood, part of the rhythm of the evening. An older man sits closest to the fire, his hands stretched out over his knees. His eyes are closed. Whether he is asleep or simply thinking, you cannot tell, but he looks peaceful, as if the heat from the fire has melted all tension from his body. You sip your drink again, slowly, and feel the warmth in your chest echo the gentle heat radiating from the hearth. In this moment, everything feels still, timeless. Part 7: The Walls and the Wood. The tavern walls are made of stone, thick, uneven, and ancient. Some of the stones are chipped or cracked. Others are covered in patches of moss or soot, reminders of countless nights just like this one. The mortar between them has darkened over the years, giving the walls a texture that feels almost like skin, weathered, warm, and familiar. Above you, the ceiling is low. Thick wooden beams stretch across from wall to wall, blackened in places by smoke and age. Some of them creak softly when the wind outside pushes against the roof, reminding you that this place is old, but still strong. The wood here is everywhere. The tables are solid and heavy, their surfaces scarred from knives, mugs, elbows, and time. Each mark tells a story. Perhaps someone carved their initials while waiting for a friend. Perhaps another left behind a scratch from a spilled mug or a nervous fidget. You trace a few lines with your fingers, wondering how many hands have done the same. The benches are no less worn. Some wobble slightly, others lean gently to one side. But no one seems to mind. They serve their purpose. They hold the weight of the tired, the lonely, the joyful, and the silent alike. Even the door, slightly ajar now, has character. Its iron hinges are rusted in places, and the wooden planks are split in spots from years of weather and touch. But it still opens, it still closes, and every time it moves, it lets in just enough cold air to make the fire feel warmer. You take another long breath. The scent of old wood and stone surrounds you, gentle and grounding. You are held in place by the quiet strength of the building itself. Part 8: The Firelight and the Shadows. The firelight in the tavern is never still. It flickers and shifts, dancing gently across every surface it touches. It reflects off the metal rings of ale mugs, makes shadows stretch and shrink on the stone walls, and casts a soft orange glow over the faces of those nearby. It is not bright. It is not meant to be. It is warm and low, a comfort rather than a spotlight. The kind of light that invites quiet, slow conversation. The kind of light that tells you it is evening, and there is nowhere else you need to be. Above the fireplace, the shadows are thick. The wooden beam there, blackened by years of smoke, catches only a hint of light. But below, where the flames dance and crackle, the movement is constant. Logs shift slightly. Ash stirs and settles again. Embers pulse red and gold, like a heartbeat beneath the stone. Across the room, candle flames do their best to compete, but they are gentler still, small wicks nestled into bits of old tallow. Placed in iron holders along the walls, their light flickers more quickly, almost nervous, but together they add to the hush of the room. No one speaks loudly, no one moves quickly. Even the shadows move as if they are tired, swaying gently in place. When someone rises from a bench, their shape joins the wall for a moment before breaking away again. And when they sit back down, the shadows fold over them once more, as if the tavern itself is wrapping them up in rest. You stare at the fire, then at the shifting patterns on the floor. There is no need to think here, no need to speak. The light does all the talking. Part 9: The Silence Between Words. There is a special kind of silence in a place like this. It is not empty. It is full of presence, of breath, of things that don't need to be said. You notice it now, between the quiet conversations and the creak of wooden stools. A silence that feels soft, like wool, wrapping gently around everything and everyone. Two men at the corner table speak without raising their voices. They pause often, not in awkwardness, but because pauses are part of the rhythm. One of them sips from his mug, scratches his beard, and waits before continuing. The other nods, not rushing a reply. There is no hurry here. Even the stories are told slowly, as if the listeners have all the time in the world. Across the room, an older woman and a younger one sit side by side. They are not talking, just sitting. The older woman knits, her needles clicking faintly in the background, while the younger watches the fire. Their shared silence speaks more than 100 words. In this tavern, silence is not an absence, it is a presence. It allows room for thought, for memory, for stillness, for a moment to breathe. You sit still. You listen to the quiet not as something waiting to be filled, but as something that is enough on its own. You feel your shoulders loosen. Your breath slows. The tavern doesn't demand anything from you. It simply allows you to be. Part 10: The Simple Meal. Eventually, you begin to notice a new scent drifting through the air, stronger than before, and familiar in a way that stirs the stomach. Someone is serving food. You watch as a wooden tray is brought out from behind a thick curtain near the back. On it rest several rough ceramic bowls, each filled with the same humble stew. No menu, no choices, just what's available that evening, something warm, filling, and simple. The woman carrying the tray moves with practiced ease, her footsteps steady on the packed dirt floor. She places a bowl in front of each patron with a quiet nod. No words are exchanged, just a glance, a grateful smile, a small clink as wood touches wood. Your bowl arrives. The stew inside is thick and hearty, with chunks of root vegetables, turnips, carrots, and perhaps a bit of onion. You spot a piece of barley bread tucked along the rim, slightly stale but perfect for soaking. You dip the bread into the stew. It softens quickly. You take a bite. It's not heavily seasoned, but it's comforting. Flavors that remind you of the earth, of slow cooking, of long winters and quiet kitchens. Around you, others eat in the same way. Slowly, without rush, a spoon lifted, a mouthful taken, a pause. The tavern seems to exhale with each shared meal. In this place, food is not meant to impress. It is meant to nourish, to warm the body and still the mind, to make you feel, even just for a moment, that everything is taken care of. And so you eat, and you feel that you belong here, among these flickering lights and quiet strangers. Part 11. The table's surface. As you rest your elbows on the table, you notice its texture, uneven, slightly sticky in places, warm from the contact of many hands. The wood is old, older than you, older than many of the patrons here. It has served generations. You run your fingers gently along the surface. They follow deep grooves worn smooth by time, marks made by mugs, knives, coins, and careless fingers. The grain of the wood rises and falls beneath your touch like the lines on a well-read map. Near your bowl, someone once carved a name. The letters are crooked, scratched in with a shaky hand. You wonder who they were. A traveler like you? A villager who came here every evening after tending sheep? Perhaps they sat in this very spot, on this same bench, staring into the same firelight. Elsewhere on the table, you find a dried wax drip, maybe from a candle that sat here long ago. Near it, a ring of dark stain, likely from a mug set down too forcefully during a loud tale. And then there are the scratches, some shallow, some deep, tiny stories etched into the wood, unreadable but unmistakably human. No one rushes to clean these marks away. In fact, they are part of what makes the table beautiful. It isn't perfect. It's lived in, like the tavern itself. You press your palm flat against it. The warmth of the wood meets your skin. For a moment, you close your eyes. You imagine all the meals shared here. All the laughter, the silences, the long sighs at the end of long days. This table holds more memories than anyone could count. And now, for just a little while, it holds yours too. Part 12. The floor beneath you. You glance down. The floor beneath your feet is simple, packed earth. Hard and uneven, smoothed only by time and footsteps. It is not polished. It is not level, but it holds the weight of the room. Years of boots and sandals, muddy and clean, heavy and light, have shaped it. It dips slightly where people always walk, near the door and around the hearth. Bits of straw cling to the corners. And here and there, a pebble or splinter of wood hides among the dust. In one spot, near your foot, the ground is darker. Perhaps someone spilled ale there hours ago. Or maybe it has never quite dried from yesterday's snow, melted off a traveler's cloak. You don't move your boot away. It doesn't matter. This floor has seen worse. You hear it with every small shift, chairs dragging, soles shuffling, the faint crunch of something brittle beneath someone's step. No one seems to notice. Or if they do, they're used to it. It's part of the place. Like the creaking ceiling beams and the low thump of a mug on wood. This floor doesn't pretend to be more than it is. It is humble, sturdy, and always beneath you. It does not ask to be noticed, but now, as you sit still, you realize it has a presence of its own. Just like everything in the tavern, it grounds you. You feel safe here, not because everything is soft, but because everything is real. The kind of real that asks nothing in return. So you stretch your legs just a little, feeling the unevenness underfoot, and you let yourself be still. Part 13. The mug in your hands. Your hands return to the mug resting in front of you. It's not full anymore, just a little warmth left at the bottom. But the mug itself still carries the heat from the ale. And from your own fingers. You lift it slowly, letting your hands cradle it like something fragile. Though it's anything but. The wood is rough in places, smoothed in others. The metal band around its rim presses coolly against your skin. There are tiny chips along the edge, harmless but visible. Someone once dropped this mug, perhaps more than once. Yet here it is, still doing its job, without complaint. You tilt it gently, watching the last bit of ale swirl slowly at the bottom. The movement is lazy, thick, like honeyed water. There is no rush to finish it, no pressure, just the simple pleasure of holding something that fits perfectly in your hands. You take a small sip. The flavor is muted now, less sharp, more mellow. The warmth is fading, but not gone. It lingers just enough to remind you that comfort doesn't have to be loud. All around you, others hold mugs the same way. Some grip them with both hands, like anchors in the moment. Others raise them slowly between sentences, barely tasting, simply pausing. You wonder how many mugs have passed through this tavern, how many toasts, how many silent drinks between friends, how many long, quiet evenings like this one. The mug rests again in your palms. Solid, familiar, enough. You hold it a little longer, not for the drink, but for the feeling. Part 14. The window you almost didn't notice. Just behind you, slightly to the left, there's a small window. You hadn't noticed it at first, not because it was hidden, but because it's easy to forget when everything inside is so warm and full. The window is narrow, set deep into the thick stone wall. Its glass is not clear, not smooth. It is old, bubbled and uneven, the kind of glass that bends the light and blurs the view. You shift in your seat, just slightly, to look through it. Outside, the world is gray and still. The sun has dipped behind the hills, and what little light remains is faint and blue. You see the outline of bare trees, their branches swaying slightly in the cold wind. A single lantern swings on a post just outside, its flickering glow barely reaching the window pane. The glass is fogged in the corners, beaded with tiny drops of moisture. If you touched it, it would be cold, so cold your finger would leave a brief mark before the fog swallowed it again. But you don't touch it, you just watch. Inside, everything is warm, orange, flickering, alive. Outside, everything is silent and blue, as if wrapped in thick wool. This little window is a quiet boundary between the two worlds, a reminder of what you've left outside: the cold, the night, the wind, and what you've entered: warmth, quiet company, and stillness. You turn your gaze back into the room. The firelight reflects faintly on the uneven glass, catching a glimpse of your own face. Just for a second, you see yourself there, part of the room, part of the evening, part of the story. And then the moment passes, and all is still again. Part 15. The stranger at the next table. You hadn't really noticed them before. Perhaps they arrived while you were staring into the fire. Or maybe they've been there all along, just another quiet presence in a room full of them. The stranger sits at the table beside yours, facing slightly away. Their cloak is dark and damp near the hem, likely from the same road you walked. A wide-brimmed hat rests on the bench beside them, dotted with a few dried flecks of mud. Their hands, rough and lined, cradle a half-empty mug, fingers curled slowly around it. They don't speak, they don't look around, they simply sit. You find yourself wondering where they came from. Another village, perhaps? A traveler from far beyond the hills? There's no way to know. And here, in this place, it doesn't matter. In a medieval tavern, stories are rarely exchanged through introductions. They're shared through the tilt of a mug, the rhythm of a sigh, or the silence between sips. Now and then, the stranger lifts their drink and takes a small swallow. Their eyes remain lowered, thoughtful but calm. There is no tension in their shoulders, no urgency in their movements. Like you, they seem content simply to be here. For a brief moment, your eyes meet, not a stare, just a glance, an acknowledgement, a silent message that says, "Yes, we are both here, and that is enough." And just like that, your gaze returns to the fire, and theirs to their mug. In a world filled with noise and motion, this kind of quiet connection feels rare. But in the glow of the tavern, it feels perfectly natural. Part 16. The crack in the wall. Just beside the hearth, there's a small crack in the stone wall. It runs diagonally, thin but deep, like a quiet reminder that even the strongest things age with time. You hadn't noticed it before, though it's probably been there for years, decades. Even, the stone around it is darker, slightly stained, as though rain or smoke once tried to press its way in. No one seems bothered by it. No one talks about it. But you find yourself quietly drawn to it now. In the quiet stretch between thoughts, the firelight flickers across its edge, casting a narrow shadow that moves ever so slightly, like a thin thread swaying in the wind. This crack doesn't threaten anything. It doesn't widen. It simply exists. A part of the wall now. A part of the room. You imagine how it might have formed. Perhaps during a winter freeze, when the stones shrank and sighed under the pressure of the cold. Or maybe from years of footsteps, laughter, weather, and warmth. This little flaw grew slowly, patiently, until it became a quiet mark of time. It is easy to overlook such things when life moves quickly. But here, in this slow and steady place, even the smallest details seem to matter. And as you sit back and gaze at it again, you realize that the crack is not a flaw at all. It is a memory, a gentle imperfection that proves the tavern has survived, much like the people within it. Part 17. The ceiling above you. You tilt your head back slightly and look up. The ceiling is low, just a few feet above your head, supported by thick wooden beams that run the width of the room. They are dark with age, nearly black in places, and rough-hewn, each one slightly different from the next. Some have small knots, others long cracks. One has a deep groove where something heavy must have been dragged across it long ago. Cobwebs dangle lazily from the corners, swaying ever so gently when the door opens and the air shifts. No one bothers them. They're not signs of neglect, but quiet decoration, soft reminders that this place has been here long enough to gather stories. And dust, and time. Between the beams, the planks are uneven, a few are bowed slightly. A few have nail heads sticking out just a touch. You wonder if there's a room above, perhaps a sleeping loft for the owner. Or a place to store sacks of grain, dried herbs, and firewood, but no footsteps sound from overhead. Tonight, it is still. There's a quiet comfort in ceilings like this, low enough to feel enclosed, but high enough to let you breathe. The space feels gathered, like a blanket pulled in tight on a cold evening. You watch the candlelight flicker across the beams, the tiny shadows shifting in rhythm with the fire. Even the ceiling is alive in its own small way, moving slowly, breathing gently with the room. And as your gaze drifts back down to your mug, you feel something steady beneath it all. This roof has stood through countless nights like this. And tonight, it holds you too. Part 18. The sound of the door. The door opens again, not loudly, just a soft push and a gentle creak as the heavy wood shifts on its hinges. The noise is familiar, so familiar that no one even turns to look. It's the same sound that's echoed through this room for generations. The cold follows it in, a short breath of night air, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and wind. It moves across the floor like a quiet wave, brushing past your boots and vanishing into the warmth of the room. A figure enters, cloaked and hooded, dusted with travel and twilight. They close the door behind them with care. The latch falls into place with a soft clunk, sealing the night outside once more. The tavern adjusts, just slightly, to this new presence. A few heads turn, a few glances are shared, but no one speaks. The newcomer hangs their cloak near the hearth, nods to the keeper, and takes a seat near the back. This is how it always goes. The door opens, the fire accepts, the room shifts but does not change. It's a rhythm you've come to know already, a rhythm of arrivals and returns, of departures and waiting. Everyone here was once the one stepping in from the cold. Everyone here remembers what it felt like to cross that threshold and be met not with questions, but with warmth. You take another sip of what remains in your mug. You glance once more at the door, now still, and you think to yourself, if only every place could be like this. Part 19. The tavern keeper. She moves quietly, almost like a shadow, yet everyone knows when she is near. The tavern keeper is not young, but she is not frail. Her steps are slow but steady. Her hands are calloused, strong from years of lifting mugs, kneading dough, and stoking the hearth. Her eyes are calm and unreadable, like still water. She doesn't smile often, but when she does, it is brief and genuine. The kind of smile that says more than words. The kind that makes even the loneliest traveler feel, if only for a moment, that they are not alone. She passes from table to table, sometimes carrying mugs, sometimes bowls, sometimes nothing at all, just a glance, a nod, a hand resting lightly on a shoulder in quiet reassurance. She speaks little. There is no need. Her presence is enough. People know not to ask too many questions. They pay what they can, when they can. If someone has nothing, they are still given a place near the fire. The tavern has its own rules, written not in ink, but in years of trust. No one remembers when she took over. Some say it was her father's place before her. Others say she simply arrived one day and never left. Either way, she belongs to this building now, as much a part of it as the walls. The tables, the soot-dark beams. You watch her move across the room. She refills a mug without being asked. She adjusts the curtain to keep the wind from creeping in. She adds a log to the fire with one smooth motion, and the room glows brighter for a moment. And then she is gone again, into the shadows. Behind the curtain, through a narrow door you hadn't noticed before. But you know she'll return. She always does. Part 20. The corner no one fills. There's a corner near the back of the tavern, tucked between a shelf of firewood and a small, shuttered window. It's darker than the rest of the room, not because it lacks light, but because the light never quite settles there. Candles seem to flicker faster in that direction. Shadows hang a little longer. No one sits there, not because it's cursed, or feared, or whispered about. Simply, no one ever chooses it. As if the room itself agrees that this small space should remain empty. The bench along the wall is slightly crooked. The table smaller than the rest. The floor dips unevenly beneath it. A single candle, burnt almost to the base, rests on a stub of iron fixed into the stone. Its wax has pooled so many times that it has formed a wide base. Like a small frozen waterfall, hardened by time. Sometimes, when the tavern is full, people glance that way, considering it for just a moment, then sit somewhere else instead. No one speaks of it. No one minds. The corner waits in quiet patience, never demanding attention, never inviting it either. You look at it now, with your hands wrapped around your empty mug. There's something comforting in knowing that even in a place of gathering, there are spaces left untouched. Spaces that hold silence without sadness, absence without loneliness. It's just a corner, but it belongs. Like everything else in the tavern, it has its place, and that is enough. Part 21. The shelf above the hearth. Just above the hearth, there's a narrow wooden shelf. You hadn't paid it much attention until now. It sits quietly in the smoke-shadowed space above the fire, slightly bowed in the middle, supported by two iron brackets that look hand-forged and a little uneven. On the shelf are a few items, nothing valuable, nothing shiny, but each one feels like it belongs there, as if placed not for show, but for memory. There is a cracked ceramic mug, chipped on one side. Its handle is missing. It looks like it once held many drinks, but now it holds only dust. Next to it, a wooden carving of a bird, small, round, with one wing slightly shorter than the other. Someone made it by hand, long ago. Its eyes are tiny dots of black pitch, and its beak is a simple triangle. The kind of carving a father might have made for a child, or a traveler might have left behind to mark their passing. Leaning against the wall is a flat stone, smoothed by water, with a circle scratched into its surface. The circle is imperfect, shallow, and clearly done with care. No one knows what it means now, but it has remained here, untouched. Beside these, a bundle of dried herbs, lavender, perhaps, or thyme, tied together with faded thread. Their color is mostly gone, but their shape remains, fragile and whole. None of these things are labeled. There is no explanation, no plaque, but each one seems to carry a quiet history. Together, they form a sort of shrine, not to gods, but to time, to memory, to the small, unnoticed pieces of life that somehow endure. You find yourself staring at them for a long while, soothed by their stillness. You may forget them later, but for now, they are enough. Part 22. The curtain behind the bar. In the corner behind the bar, just past the shelves of jugs and bowls, hangs a curtain. It is plain, undyed linen, slightly frayed at the edges, its bottom hem brushing the packed dirt floor. It sways gently when someone passes too closely, as though stirred by breath alone. You've seen a few people slip behind it throughout the evening. The tavern keeper, a boy carrying empty bowls. Once, a woman with a basket of kindling. No one ever hurries through it. They pass through with care, as if the curtain marks the threshold to somewhere softer, quieter, slower still than even the tavern itself. What lies beyond it? A kitchen, perhaps, or a small storeroom, or maybe it's simply a space for the keeper to sit down, to rest her feet, to let the quiet settle on her shoulders for a moment. The curtain doesn't invite curiosity. It asks for respect. It tells you, in its own silent way, that some spaces are not meant for guests. That not everything needs to be seen to be part of the whole. You notice the way the candlelight glows faintly through it, outlining shapes on the other side, shadows of barrels, a tall wooden stool, a bundle of drying onions tied with string. Nothing grand, nothing hidden, just the quiet continuation of the life that makes this place feel full. And so, you don't rise, you don't peer behind it. You simply watch the curtain sway for a while, then grow still again. Some things are better left imagined. Some doors are meant to remain gently closed. Part 23. The smudge on the wall. To your right, just above eye level, there's a dark smudge on the wall. It's easy to overlook. Most people do. But in a room like this, where everything has weight and story, even a smudge has a place. The wall beneath it is stone, cool and uneven. The smudge itself is not large, just a faint shadow against the gray, roundish, dull-edged, like something was pressed there again and again over time. A shoulder, perhaps, or the side of a head, or a hand resting in thought. You imagine someone standing there, evening after evening, listening to stories or waiting for their drink, maybe leaning there for warmth, or to feel the comfort of something solid behind them. Maybe they never noticed the mark they left. Most people don't notice when they leave traces behind. It's not dirt. Exactly. Not soot. Just the soft, dark memory of presence, of weight, of quiet. The smudge never gets cleaned. No one scrubs it away. It stays, like the scratches on the tables and the crack in the wall. A piece of history so small it would vanish if the light shifted just slightly. But right now, in this moment, you see it, and somehow, it makes the room feel more alive, as if the walls themselves remember those who passed through. You lean back, your own shoulder gently resting against the cool stone. Maybe, someday, someone else will notice a new smudge in this spot, and they'll wonder, quietly, about you. Part 24. The candle that refused to die. Near the center of your table, there's a small candle. It rests in a metal holder, bent slightly on one side. Blackened with soot, the wax has dripped down in layers, hardening into thin folds like the bark of a tree. Each spill, each droplet, is a quiet record of nights just like this one. The flame is small, but determined. It flickers when the door opens. It wavers when someone walks past, but it does not go out. You watch it for a long while. It leans gently to the left, then straightens. It dances for no one but itself. The wick is short, burned down to the last inch, and yet, it glows. You imagine how many evenings this same candle may have seen, how many mugs it's watched rise and fall, how many stories have been told beneath its light, how many thoughts have gone unspoken in its glow. It gives off just enough light to let you see your hands, the lines in your palms, the rim of your mug, the edge of your bread crust. It is not grand, this light. It doesn't try to fill the room. It just claims its own small circle of warmth and holds it gently. You lean in slightly, letting the flame reflect in your drink, in your eyes, in the smooth grain of the table. There's something comforting about a candle that has every reason to go out, and chooses not to. Somehow, it makes you feel as though everything, just for now, is going to be okay. Part 25. The quiet at the edge of sleep. You haven't spoken in a while. Not because there's nothing to say, but because here, words don't rush. They wait, they soften, and sometimes, they don't arrive at all. And that, too, is fine. Your mug is empty now. The warmth of the ale lingers faintly in your chest, and the food has settled in your stomach like a heavy, comforting stone. Your limbs feel loose, your eyes half lowered. Around you, the tavern has grown quieter. Not silent, but slower. Voices have dropped to murmurs. A few people have left. A few have stayed, seated in the same positions, as if too comfortable to move. The fire is smaller now. It crackles gently, no longer leaping, just glowing. The shadows stretch longer on the walls, melting into each other. The candle in front of you has almost burned down, its little flame shrinking, but still steady. You feel the tug at the edge of your thoughts. That slow, familiar weight that begins in the shoulders and drifts downward. The heaviness behind the eyes. The peaceful fog that comes just before sleep. You don't fight it. The tavern welcomes it, this quiet folding inward. This closing of the day. Even the room seems to breathe slower, as if it, too, is ready to rest. Your hand rests on the table. Your head leans slightly forward. You hear one last soft creak of the floorboards. A final clink of pottery. And then, stillness. Not the stillness of emptiness. The stillness of safety. You are here. You are warm. You are full. And sleep, when it comes, will come gently. Part 26. The fire's last watch. The fire is low now. What was once a lively crackle has faded to a quiet whisper. The logs have collapsed inward, forming a soft mound of glowing embers, deep orange at the center. fading to ash at the edges. They pulse faintly, like the last heartbeat of the room. A single flame dances at the tip of a charred log, slow and blue at its base, curling upward like a ribbon. It moves less now. It seems tired, as if it knows its duty for the night is nearly done. The hearth still gives off warmth, but not heat. It is the kind of warmth that stays close. That doesn't travel far, inviting you only if you come near, asking nothing of you if you stay seated. You watch a tiny piece of ash lift from the fire, spin lazily through the air, and vanish. The light it leaves behind lingers in your eyes for just a moment, then fades. No one tends the fire anymore. The tavern keeper has long since disappeared behind the curtain. A few others still sit in the glow, heads bowed, hands folded, but none of them speak. They are simply resting, their thoughts as still as the air. Even the shadows are slower now. They move only when the fire shifts, and the fire shifts only when it must. You breathe in deeply. The scent of wood smoke is softer now, mingled with the cool air sneaking in through the cracks in the stone. It smells like endings, like comfort, like sleep. And as you sit in that dim light, you understand. The fire is not dying. It is simply keeping watch. Part 27. The bench beneath you. You shift slightly on the bench and feel the weight of it beneath you. It doesn't creak this time. It simply holds you, steady and quiet, like it has done for countless others. The wood is cool at the edges, smooth from wear, shaped more by bodies than by tools. It has no padding, no curve to fit your form, yet somehow, it fits all the same. Your hand brushes along its edge. The grain is deep and uneven. There's a small nick where someone once carved a mark, a letter, maybe, or the point of a knife. Whatever it was, it remains. The bench doesn't ask you to sit straight. It doesn't tell you how to rest. It lets you fold into it however you choose. Leaning forward, slouching back, elbows on the table, head in your hands, it accepts it all. You think about how long it has been here, how many evenings it has held, how many stories it has supported without ever hearing a word. In its stillness, it has known so much. And now it knows you. You adjust again, slower this time. Your shoulders sink. The bench doesn't move. It doesn't judge. It simply remains, solid, familiar. Enough. The longer you sit here, the more it becomes clear. Comfort is not always softness. Sometimes, it is just something that stays. And tonight, this bench is staying with you. Part 28. The breath of the room. If you sit very still, still enough to hear the small things, you begin to notice something gentle. Something almost hidden. The room is breathing, not in the way a person does, but in its own quiet rhythm, made of sound and stillness. The kind of breathing that happens through soft floor creaks, the faint settling of stones, the tick of cooling wood. You hear it when someone shifts in their seat, when a mug is placed down gently, when a stool leans a little and then comes back. Each sound, barely louder than a whisper, fits perfectly into the space. You feel it in the air, a slow drift of warmth rising from the fire, brushing your cheeks, then cooling as it climbs. You sense it when someone walks past behind you, the brief movement of air, the soft rustle of fabric, then stillness again. The room does not move quickly. It does not need to. Everything inside of it flows like a slow river. Even silence is part of its breath, drawn in, held, and released. And now, without trying, you match it. Your breath becomes slower, your shoulders lower without command, your hands rest without intention. Your body softens, not in surrender, but in understanding. The room breathes, and tonight, you breathe with it. Part 29. The ash that gathers. Down near the hearth, where the last glow of the fire still lingers, you notice a small collection of ash. It's not piled high, just a soft scatter across the stone, a fine gray blanket where wood once burned bright. Some of it is white, some darker, all of it light enough to move with the smallest breath. Now and then, a tiny flake lifts and twirls in the warm air before settling back down again. Like snow that has forgotten to melt. You watch as one lands on the toe of your boot, rests for a moment, then vanishes without a trace. No one sweeps it up. Not yet, not tonight. It will be there in the morning. Or perhaps it won't. The ash is not in the way. It is part of the evening. There is something peaceful about it, this quiet ending. The fire once roared here, full of crackles and sparks. But now it sleeps, and what remains is not waste, but memory. You think of how many nights have ended just like this. How many fires have given their warmth and left behind this soft dust to mark their passing? You wonder if, somewhere beneath the ash, there's a piece of the first log ever burned here, decades ago. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the hush. The way the ash settles without sound. The way it waits without purpose. The way it disappears so gently. No one ever notices it leave. You don't move. You simply watch. And somehow, watching the ash makes you feel even more still. Part 30. The last light. The candle in front of you gives one last flicker. It wavers to one side, leans into the dark, then steadies for just a breath. You watch as the flame curls inward, shrinking, like it's folding itself to sleep. Then, with no sound at all, it goes out. The room doesn't grow dark. Not fully. The embers in the hearth still glow faintly. A few other candles linger on nearby tables. But your little corner is now quiet. Its light gone, leaving behind only the soft curl of smoke rising into the still air. You don't reach for another candle. You don't need one. Your eyes have adjusted to the hush. You see by feel now, by the shape of the table beneath your hand. The warmth in the wood. The closeness of the air. All around you. The tavern has settled into a kind of sleep. People are still sitting, but fewer now. Some have gone. Some are nodding slowly. Heads resting on folded arms. Cloaks pulled around shoulders. There is no music. No farewells. No final calls. Just the fading rhythm of a night that knows how to end itself. You sit a little longer. No words are needed. No thoughts demand attention. Everything has slowed, not to a stop, but to a gentle drift. And then you rise, softly. The bench groans quietly, as if it, too, is sleepy. You gather yourself, slowly, so as not to disturb the night, and make your way toward the door. The fire gives one last crackle. Someone murmurs a good night. The curtain behind the bar stirs slightly in the breeze. You step outside. The cold meets you like a whisper. But it's not unkind. The tavern door closes behind you with a low thump. And the world feels still. The night is wide. The stars are quiet. And your heart is full. You walk slowly, carrying the warmth with you. Part 31. The night road home. The path outside is softer than you remember. The mud has dried a little since evening. The ruts in the road are still there. But they no longer matter. Your boots find their way without needing to think. One step, then another, slow and steady, like a lullaby for your feet. The sky above is deep and dark, filled with stars you hadn't noticed earlier. They aren't sharp or bright, just faint pinpricks of quiet light, scattered across the heavens like crumbs left on a black cloth. There's no wind, only a chill that clings gently to your cloak, the kind that reminds you you're outside, but doesn't push you along. The silence is vast here, but not empty. You hear the soft hoot of an owl. Far off, a rustle in the grass nearby. The distant creak of a tree bending in its sleep. The tavern is behind you now, but you can still feel it. Not in your hands or your eyes, but in the warmth that lingers in your chest. In the slow rhythm of your breath, like a story that has ended, but still echoes in your thoughts. You pass a fence, old and leaning. Beyond it, the fields lie wide and silver under the moonlight. A pair of sheep, pale in the dark, blink at you sleepily and do not move. Your footsteps are the only sound now. And even they are quiet. It's not far to where you'll rest tonight. A cottage, maybe, or a loft above the stable, or simply the straw bed you laid out before you left. But wherever it is, you're ready for it now. And the road, for once, asks nothing of you. It simply carries you forward. Part 32. The cottage light. As you follow the quiet road, a soft glow appears ahead, faint, golden, and still. It comes from a small cottage tucked beneath a slope, its roof sagging slightly under the weight of many seasons. The walls are made of wattle and daub, whitewashed in places, darkened by weather in others. A single window glows with the last flicker of a hearth, filtered through old, warped glass. This is not a place of grandeur. It is a place of rest. You approach slowly. The door is closed but not locked. The latch lifts without protest. And you step inside without sound. The warmth inside is gentle. Not strong, but familiar, leftover heat from a dying fire. The kind that stays low in the air, near the ground, like a blanket folded over the floorboards. You remove your cloak, hang it on the same peg you always do. Your boots come off with two soft thumps. No one else is awake. If others are here, they are asleep, curled in beds behind curtains. or lying under heavy woolen blankets. The room breathes quietly. Even the walls seem to hum with rest. You pour a little water from a clay jug. Drink slowly. The taste is simple and cold. Just enough to settle your thoughts. To signal that the day is nearly done. A small stool sits near the fire. You take it, just for a moment, to let your body settle before sleep. Outside, the wind brushes past the window, whispering faintly as it goes. You close your eyes. The tavern, the road, the night, they are all behind you now. Like a story you've read, line by line, until the pages grew dim and the ink began to blur. You're home now, not forever, but for tonight, it is enough. Part 33. The blanket over your shoulders. You rise from the stool and cross the room in slow, steady steps. In the far corner, your bedding waits, nothing grand. Just a low cot stuffed with straw, a folded woolen blanket, and a small pillow that smells faintly of herbs and sleep. The kind of bed that doesn't promise dreams, only rest. You lift the blanket and feel its familiar weight. It is heavier than it looks, woven thick, with patches where the edges have been mended. You remember when one of those patches was new. You remember the hands that stitched it. You settle onto the cot with a soft exhale. The blanket comes over your shoulders like a slow wave, first the chest, then the arms, then the legs, until you are fully covered. The warmth is quiet, building not from heat but from stillness. The straw beneath you shifts as your body adjusts. The sound a soft whisper in the quiet room. You find a comfortable place to rest your arm, then your head. You close your eyes, then open them again, just once, to look around. The fire is nearly gone now. The orange has turned to gray. The coals lie like tiny stars in the ashes, distant, faint, and peaceful. You pull the blanket up just a little higher, until your chin meets the wool. The air beneath it is warm, familiar, yours. In this moment, there is nothing left to do. No more stories to hear. No more roads to walk. Only this breath, then the next, and the deep, still comfort of being covered, completely, by something that knows exactly how to hold you. Part 34. The ceiling in the dark. Lying on your back now, you gaze up at the ceiling. You can't see much, only the faint outlines of beams in the low light, crisscrossing above like the quiet bones of the house. They don't move, they don't creak, they simply are, strong, simple, steady. A tiny draft slips through a crack in the wall. It brushes your cheek, then vanishes. You adjust your blanket and let it pass. Above you, in the still dark, you imagine all the nights this ceiling has seen. All the winters, the rains, the hush of snowfall settling on the roof. It has covered many before you, travelers, workers, families, each of them once lying just like this, looking up, breathing slowly, letting the weight of the day fall away. A faint shadow crosses the beam above. Maybe it's a moth, maybe it's nothing at all. In the near dark, everything moves like a dream, soft-edged, slow, half-imagined. Your eyes grow heavy, but they don't close just yet. You trace the shape of the rafters with your gaze, following the same lines again and again, until they blur into one gentle darkness. This ceiling does not speak. It does not comfort, but it protects. And tonight, that is enough. You breathe in once, deep and slow. The beams stay exactly where they are, and you begin to drift. Part 35. The final embers. Somewhere behind your eyelids, a memory of the fire still glows. Not the fire you see now, it's nearly gone. Just the soft, crumbling sigh of heat in the hearth. But the fire from earlier, when you first stepped inside, when the room was filled with golden light and gentle voices, when your hands curled around the first warm mug, and the air smelled of wood smoke and bread. That warmth stays with you, not as heat, but as presence, as a kind of calm that has soaked into your skin and settled quietly in your chest. You remember the way the candle flickered near your elbow, the way the bench felt solid beneath you, the hush of voices, the nod of a stranger, the glance from the tavern keeper. All of it floats behind your thoughts now, dim and slow, like clouds moving across a midnight sky. And the fire, what little of it remains, crackles once, very softly, not to speak, just to say, I'm still here. The last of the embers glow faint red in the hearth, tucked into ash. No more flames, just light that doesn't want to leave yet. A kind of memory made warm. You do not need to look. You feel it. You pull the blanket higher again, just slightly, and exhale slowly through your nose. Your body grows heavier, your mind lighter. The fire fades. The breath slows. And sleep, gentle and patient, finds its way to you at last. Part 36. The weight of stillness. Everything is still now. Not just the room, not just the walls, the fire, or the blanket, but everything. Even your thoughts have slowed, settling like dust on an untouched shelf. They do not rush or twist. They drift, and then they rest. You can feel the shape of your own stillness. The gentle pull of gravity holding you in place. The soft pressure of the blanket against your shoulder. The quiet breath at the tip of your nose, rising and falling like the smallest tide. Outside, the night continues, but you no longer follow it. The owl may still call. The wind may still pass through the trees. But those things are far away now, muffled by the soft walls of sleep drawing closer. You are not asleep yet, but you are no longer fully awake. You are floating just between. There is nothing to do here. Nothing to fix. Nothing to plan. Only to rest. Only to be. Like a stone in a river. Or a candle with no more to burn. Not lost, just still. And in this moment, being still is everything. You are not waiting. You are not trying. You are simply safe. Part 37. The room that remembers. Though your eyes are closed, you still feel the room. It wraps around you, not tightly, but gently, like the way a familiar voice wraps around a name. You know this place now, even if you never speak of it again. The air, the scent of cooled ash, the quiet press of wooden beams above, everything remains. Just beneath the surface of thought. The tavern is behind you, yet somehow, still with you. It lives in the way your shoulders are relaxed, in the steadiness of your breath, in the memory of a mug warm in your hands, and a corner of the room where no one sat, and a candle that refused to die. Even in sleep, or the space just before it, the tavern lingers. Rooms like that don't disappear. They hold pieces of you long after you leave. Not in a haunting way, but in a welcoming one. As if, should you ever return, your seat will still be warm, your mug still waiting, the fire still watching. You think of the bench, of the shelf above the hearth, of the curtain no one passed through too quickly. The room does not need to call you back. It doesn't ask for anything. It simply remembers. And so do you. And in that remembering, your breath slows even more. The room fades, but not away, just deeper. Into the folds of rest. Part 38. The dreams that wander in. Somewhere between the last breath of waking and the first breath of sleep. The dreams begin to arrive. Not all at once. Not with a story, or a scene, or a face. They come slowly, like mist rolling over a quiet hill, soft, patient, unsure of their shape. A flicker of candlelight becomes a hallway. A footstep becomes a path through trees. A low murmur becomes a voice you once knew. Long ago, or not at all. Nothing in the dream asks to be understood. It simply shows itself, piece by piece, as if offering a hand to guide you somewhere you don't need a name for. You follow it, not because you must, but because the motion feels right. Sometimes, the dreams carry echoes of the tavern. The sound of a mug on wood. The hush of a fire dying low. The creak of a bench shifting slightly beneath you. And sometimes, they carry you somewhere else entirely, still safe. Still slow. Still quiet. You do not need to open your eyes. You do not need to hold on. The dream will carry you gently. Just as the tavern did. Just as the road did. Just as the night has. And so you drift. Not upward. Not downward. Just through. Each breath is longer now. Each thought, softer. Each moment, farther away. The dreams are not loud. They do not need to be. They have found you. Part 39. The breath you don't notice. At some point, your breath begins to move on its own. You're no longer aware of the rise and fall, not because it has stopped, but because it no longer needs your attention. It's simply happening, quietly, perfectly, like the tide beneath a still sea. In, out, soft, steady, no effort, no thought. Just the rhythm of a body that has learned how to rest. Your arms are heavy now. Your legs no longer hold shape. Even your fingertips are warm and still. No longer curious about the edges of the blanket or the texture of the bed. The air around you is thick with calm. If someone entered the room now, they would not speak. They would move slowly, out of respect for this quiet. For this kind of silence that belongs only to sleep. Your mind floats, no longer trying to make sense of anything. Not the dreams, not the day, not the time. The story has ended, but you are still here, wrapped in the last gentle threads of its voice. held in the breath you no longer notice. Drifting without knowing. You don't need to listen anymore. You don't need to think. Only to rest. Part 40. The sleep that takes its time. There is no moment when sleep arrives. It doesn't knock. It doesn't announce itself. It simply begins. Like a cloak being gently placed over your shoulders. Like footsteps fading into the distance. Like a flame dimming, not because it must, but because it's ready. You are not awake now. But you are not lost. Either. You are somewhere in between. And that is exactly where you need to be. The tavern is gone, yet still with you. The mug, the fire, the bench, they have become warmth. And rhythm, and memory. You don't carry them, they carry you. And now, the weight of your body disappears into the bed beneath it. The last flicker of thought gives way to the quiet hum of nothing. Even your name grows soft and distant, like the end of a lullaby. There is nothing left to hear. Nothing left to remember. Nothing left to do. Only sleep. The kind that takes its time. The kind that stays. And in that sleep, you are home.